Our anime begins with a group of heroes trapped in a magical spell cast by the Dark Lord. We see the group's growing concern, yet the hero standing before them urges them to stay calm. He admits he's terrified but promises to do his best to escape, as he hopes one day people will remember him as a brave hero. This leads him to recall some incredibly powerful heroes capable of summoning high-level feats alongside their companions, showcasing abilities far beyond ordinary standards. This is evident when onlookers cheer them on, admiring their strength and expressing a desire to reach their level. This valiant group of heroes is called Thunder's Peak, with the most famous among them being a certain Simon, a ladies' man. However, suddenly, a B-ranked hero named Yuke decides to leave the Thunder's Peak squad. Before departing, he clarifies his decision stems from the rewards, as he always gets a meager share of gold compared to Simon, who earns significantly more. At the same time, Barry, an A-class hero the same rank as Simon, calls Yuke ungrateful, pointing out that thanks to the team, he's been able to win those battles. Jamie agrees, supported by Camilla, who remarks that Yuke needs to put in more effort if he wants better rewards. However, it's quite difficult for a B rank to reach an A rank. This enrages Yuke, who claims he is a vital part of the team and that without him, they wouldn't have been able to defeat those fierce monsters. This statement causes the others to laugh, treating him as insignificant and predicting he'll soon return crawling and begging to rejoin the group. Hearing this, our protagonist downs the last of his beer and storms out of the cursed group. After some time, he heads to the guild to look for work, where he meets an elf named Mamar. Yes, that's her name, don't laugh. Our protagonist begins filling out the job application when a beautiful red-haired girl appears out of nowhere and hugs him. This girl, Marina, thanks him for his motivational videos and preparation talks for adventurers. Noticing he's looking for a group, she quickly offers him a spot in her team. After a brief meeting with Rain and Silk, they all agree to let him join their group. However, the girls are somewhat hesitant since they're merely D-rank combatants, the same rank as their group. They ask the protagonist if he's sure about joining a D-rank team. Hearing this, the protagonist reassures them he has no problem with it as he's in significant debt, and this is a good way to earn more than usual. Without much hesitation, they accept calling him Professor, which makes the protagonist uncomfortable. He asks them not to call him that, insisting that they're now companions. After the conversation, the group heads to the town to prepare for the dungeon. There, the protagonist suggests starting at the 6th floor to face the Iron Giant. Upon hearing this, the girls are visibly scared of confronting such a boss. As a compromise, the protagonist suggests going to the 4th floor to avoid unnecessary complications. Once inside, Marina quickly takes the lead to protect the group, but the protagonist decides to take the front instead, which isn't unusual, as assassins and warriors typically lead ahead of mages. The protagonist reveals a memory from his previous group, showing them the lantern detector, a device that can easily identify traps set by enemies. The girls are amazed by this, choosing to trust and follow the protagonist. He reminisces about how this was the first dungeon he ever visited with his previous team. Suddenly, Yuke alerts the group, sensing something strange in the next room. This causes the girls to be on high alert, readying themselves for an imminent attack. Advancing, they encounter massive purple beasts called Bogles. The girls quickly position themselves to attack, with Silk striking first, followed by Marina charging at the beasts. Before she does, the protagonist imbues her with magical energy, enhancing all her stats. She becomes as light as a feather, but as strong as a giant. Marina thanks Yuke for the magical buffs, admitting she feels much stronger thanks to him. However, the protagonist shows little emotion and continues leading the way. Moving forward, the girls suggest checking their weapons, armor, and physical condition to ensure everything is intact. The protagonist agrees, and they descend a staircase to inspect their gear, discovering no damage. The group successfully clears the 1st floor and swiftly advances to the 2nd, encountering more ferocious monsters, including cadaveric miners. These creatures mercilessly attack the group of warriors. Yet, thanks to the protagonist's incredible power-ups, the girls easily defeat these monsters, delighted by how effortless it feels. Noticing that Rain had used a mana-draining spell, the protagonist casts another spell to replenish her depleted mana. The girls are astonished, admitting they've never seen such a high-level spell. Marina quickly asks Rain if this spell is difficult to learn, and Rain confirms it's ultra complex, stating that mastering it alone qualifies one for A-rank groups. Hearing this, the protagonist blushes slightly, asking them to calm down, insisting he's not as powerful as they think. They press onward, with Yunk sprinkling holy water to prevent undead creatures from following them and flanking them. The girls are surprised by this, knowing how expensive holy water is. Unexpectedly, the protagonist reveals he made it himself, stunning the girls. They realize Yunk must be incredibly skilled, as creating holy water requires being a priest or something even more powerful. The journey continues, but feeling tired and hungry, they decide to take a break. The protagonist pulls supplies from his magic pouch and begins cooking, impressing the girls with how delicious the food looks. Seeing the seafood soup, Rain's heart races and Marina is equally tempted, amazed at how rare it is to eat such good food in a dungeon. This is thanks to the protagonist's magical cauldron, which he reveals was quite expensive. Without further ado, they start eating and the girls are overwhelmed with satisfaction. Silk notices something peculiar about the food, asking Yunk why it feels infused with mana. The protagonist replies that it's simply made with love, explaining that love is akin to alchemy. He essentially claims that love is mana, which confuses Silk, but she decides not to dwell on it. Continuing their adventure, they reach the 4th floor, where they encounter the floor boss, the petrified lizard. The group prepares for battle, with the protagonist attacking first, slowing the beast before Marina defeats it with her magic sword. Seeing the vast amount of minerals the boss drops, the protagonist is thrilled, knowing he'll make a lot of money. He pulls out his demolisher pickaxe and starts mining while the girls collect the minerals. After tallying the haul, they realize they're still short of their financial goal. This makes the protagonist reflect, concluding they'll need to defeat the 6th floor boss for a significant payout. Once again, the girls are terrified, but the protagonist reassures them he'll handle the monster alone, determined to prove his strength and utility. Hearing this, the girls are awestruck and decide to follow his orders without hesitation. Reaching the 5th floor, they find themselves before a massive door. The protagonist asks them not to interfere, explaining he'll face the beast alone. This shocks the girls, but they agree to his request. The protagonist then pulls out a magical camera, admitting he always records his boss fights as it makes him feel good. Marina suggests live streaming the fight so they can watch it, and the protagonist readily agrees. He asks the girls if their group has a name, but they admit they don't have one yet. Everyone brainstorms names, ultimately choosing Clover, as there are 4 members, and lucky clovers have 4 leaves. The protagonist is delighted and promptly prepares to face the beast. Buffing himself with powerful spells, he enters the boss room and unleashes a barrage of magical attacks. While blinded, stunned, and poisoned, the monster is unable to attack the protagonist in any way. Taking advantage of this, the protagonist manages to bring it down and finish it off, then cuts the stream and is embraced by his companion. Afterward, the protagonist decides to store the beast in his magical bag, intending for the guild to later dissect it so they can receive their payment. However, this proves unnecessary, as upon defeating the beast, it drops a chest brimming with gold and other treasures.